Hey everybody, KC here. So a number of years ago, there was a book that came out that was called How the Irish Saved Civilization. And I think I may have another example of how this is true, or at least how the Irish are working to save civilization. So there was a story that's popped up in on the Wall Street Journal, a couple of other places too, about how the Irish government has went to court basically to say that the bread that Subway uses in its sandwiches there isn't actually bread. It doesn't qualify as bread for tax purposes. There's a tax implication about whether something is bread or not, because apparently it has too much sugar in it. To qualify as bread, it has to have 2% sugar or less, and Subway's bread comes in at something like 10% sugar. So they're saying, sorry, you're not really bread. Now, Subway takes issue with this one, as one might imagine. They say, oh, come on, we've been making bread for years. Bread is bread. But you know something? I have to say I'm with the Irish on this one. Bread isn't bread. There's something to be said about a great loaf of bread. And I don't think, I've had Subway sandwiches occasionally. It would never be mistaken for great bread. And the thing is, I think retailers that want to distinguish themselves and differentiate themselves, they don't do themselves any favor when they go to the lowest common denominator. I'm not saying everything has to be expensive. I'm not saying everything has to be gourmet. But when you try and raise the customer's expectations, aspirations, when you serve them something a little bit better as opposed to something a little bit lesser, you become a retailer of choice. I think that's a really important thing to do. You know, as we always talk around here, competition is tough. It's really hard to differentiate yourself. And one of the ways you differentiate yourself is by having better stuff. And that sometimes means having better bread, you know, better wine, better beer, whatever it happens to be, better meat, better cheese. Again, not always the most expensive, but stuff that makes people feel better about the stuff that they're eating. You can never go wrong by trying to raise standards a little bit. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. Thank God for the Irish. As always, I want to hear what's on your mind.